Hey, what's going on, nation? This guy built a career using his own mistakes to propel his curiosity to solve some problems for others. You know who's coming up? Ken. Michael Kainatsky joins me live in the lab. Coming up.
Hi, I'm Bilous, and this is Live in the Lab.
All right. A little bit of weirdness in front of the camera there for anybody who's watching. So I'm like, hey, where's the button? Where's the button? I can't get it going.
How did you go viral on TikTok?
You were on America's Got Talent. How much do you get paid to be on AGT? Oh, you didn't get paid. Keith and Steve here in Live in the Lab.
You're a great interviewer. I love it.
48 miles, 48 hours. And not just once. You ain't seen nothing yet. I hit 50 last time, and I'm like, yeah, things are a little different than they were 10 years ago. So trust me, things are to keep.
You have no time for the BS that much of society seems to put on the table. Why is that? Like, what you're talking about is real right now. There's just no bullshit here, but it's just real.
We brought you in with some Marley. I said, Joseph, let's talk music for a second. You said, well, Keith, oldies, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I've never talked to a sir before. Why are you a sir? In many ways, we're the same story. I came from nothing. You came from nothing.
I think the old saying goes that if you want a trophy, you climb Everest. If you want respect, you climb K2.
I've built an AI myself, and it's pretty fascinating when you can have a conversation with yourself with your own knowledge. Have you done that before? Why are we rushing to make these tools if all they're going to do is hurt humanity?
Does the world need an Oppenheimer moment with AI?
What a fun show.
Okay, so if I do this right, we're on the way to the Jets game. We're going to be coming home happy today. Beezy's driving. Yeah. And, if this happens right, we're coming home happy. If it doesn't go right, coming home sad. Pretty obvious. Sadness. Sadness. We lost.
Well, nation, you saw it. We lost. Yep. It happened. My hockey team lost last night. Welcome to Live in the Lab with Keith Bilous. My good buddy Ken, Michael Kainatsky, is joining me here in a few moments. Kind of getting to know the guy over the last couple of weeks. Met in the Brambuilt community and had a funny little chat on the way to the game last night. And I said, Mike, I said, Ken. We call him Ken. And listen, if you tuned in this morning, I'm sorry that I couldn't bring the energy. I had people knocking on my door after the show going, hey, Keith. I'm like, yeah. They're like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. What's wrong? Like, oh, you didn't bring the energy this morning. I'm like, man, really? Oh, sorry. I only had a few hours of sleep. You know, by the time I got home, I got this morning show now. Yeah, you just tune in the mornings. I think Ken's a fan. Yeah, so we got this morning show, and I got home late last night from the hockey game, playing my friends in Colorado. Hello, Anthony Franco. Looking forward to knocking on your door this afternoon. Yeah, we played our friends in Colorado, and we unfortunately lost. But I'm not a bandwagon jumper. Nope, not a bandwagon. I'm all in on this team. My beloved Winnipeg Jets, and I'm going to make all of you fans of my beloved Winnipeg Jets. I know they always talk about niching down. Well, fuck, man, we're niching down on me. That's right. Coming up today, I'm going to take Michael down the path of, we're going to take 7 minutes, Mike. We're going to take 7 minutes, Kainatsky, and we are going to dig into 7 minutes to discuss 3 things you might not know about yourself. I got the wrong camera on myself. Yep, still half asleep from this morning, but I got the internet, got good tunes this morning. Got the energy, but I got to tell you, I sent Mike this text. I says, hey, he's like, I don't really want to talk about work. I want to make it fun. I'm like, yeah, okay. Clearly, Kainatsky doesn't do anything fun for a living. I'm suspecting the guy's a pretty fun guy. Just suspecting as I'm getting to know him here. But I says to him, okay, we can make it funny. I'm always down for that. I'm here to entertain and inform. And besides, it's rest and recovery Wednesdays. And I'm going to be tired if we lose. Aha! I'll be miserable. And if we win, I'll be less tired. So I frankly predicted it. Completely predicted the behavior today after what happened last night. All right, so I think I'm just going to cut the monologue short. I think I'm going to bring in my partner in disguise over here, Michael Kainatsky. What's going on, Ken?
It's going, man. It's going. If I could have told you they were going to lose.
Oh, don't even go there with me, man. Don't even go there with me. I'm glad to see you today. Thanks for the support. lovingly to have your support. You know, I didn't
pleasure.
take the time to throw into the bus this morning or this afternoon. I'm like, no, I'll just welcome the guy in. I'm going to keep the monologue short. I want to talk to, you know, I was looking at that video you sent me last night and I said to myself, I want to talk to the most handsome guy on LinkedIn.
Is he coming on?
No, you're talking to
the only one.
Dude, you're talking to him right now.
Well, I mean, I know it's you. But
jeez.
I thought you had a guess. I was like, wow, I love dialogue.
That is so, friend, you are joining us. Let's just get. So I know we want to have fun, but the audience cares more if the audience knows much about Ken. I know you're a multi. You know, you've spent a bunch of time in the morning with me, and I'm like, you got to come spend some more time with me in the lab, an hour. I want to get to know you more intimately. I want to, you know, I do invite people to bed with me.
I used to as well, but it got really costly.
So I'm for free. I've been running that one ad nauseum, but I'm for free, man. You know, I'm just gonna listen, Michael. Oh, hey, I have an awesome invite for Nation right now. So if you're tuning in, you know, we're shooting this live right now in about 24 to 40 some odd hours. We're gonna package it up. You'll find it up on YouTube. You can take Keith and Michael to bed with you. You can just swap it on the tube there, and you could go to sleep to the sultry sounds of Mr. Keith Bilous and Michael Kainatsky. Hey, it's certainly something to think about. So you are a former
background music.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Eh? It's pretty good. Pretty good. So you're a former C-suite guy, reinvented. You told me, again, not going to spend a lot of time talking with this, but I got to get people to care about you. Former C-suite guy, recognize there's problems happening in the C-suite, in the world of hiring folks, transforming organizations, turnover in humans, and you're like, I want to step back and solve this problem. You looked at some of the learnings you had through the mistakes and curiosity you experienced in your life, and you're like, yeah, I want to go solve this problem. So you become like the recruitment revolutionary, Michael Kainatsky. No?
Somewhat.
That'd be good.
Maybe.
Somewhat. Maybe.
Becoming. I don't think you ever really become anything. I think the journey is becoming. I don't think I'll ever become anything, but I will certainly always strive to become something. And I think that's probably why the issues that I'm trying to solve exist, because a lot of people have thinking they arrived and stopped thinking they have to further innovate. That might be the issue. Too many people have become and they're not continuing becoming.
Well, that's interesting. I've never thought about it this way. You're right, because we always speak about, Michael, about becoming. But to your point, I suspect once people hit a certain spot in their careers or within the C-suite, you start collecting the cushy check. Nothing wrong with that. I was there. You know, you collect a nice check and you get into a great rhythm, and maybe the paper starts to pile up on the desk to move from one side to the other, but you still get the check every couple of weeks. And you're right. You go from becoming to become, right?
I think the worst thing probably in the C-suite is the words, I have arrived. That's when things start to really slow down, where you go, hey man, this was a long journey. I'm here. I got here. And at that point, maybe there's a lot of innovation that stops. Maybe you start delegating a little bit too much. Maybe a lot of trust without verification. Maybe too much golf, not as much self-reflection. And that's probably why we're seeing things happening right now where a lot of C-suite, I get a lot of C-suite people reaching out to me telling me they're laid off. And I'm wondering, you know, when a C-suite person gets laid off, that's pretty telling to me. So I think there's a lot of people that are, I don't know if I want to say they're rendering themselves either obsolete or redundant, but if there's a lot of people who have arrived, that means there's a lot of people just kind of standing still, not trying to push the boundary further.
It's interesting. That's interesting. Complacency, Michael?
Complacency, comfort.
Yes.
You know, I mean, look, there's two things that I think that probably do not benefit people: comfort food and comfort zone.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, isn't that true? Isn't that true? And then when you put it down, right? So C-suite are getting laid off and they're coming knocking on your door, but yet when we have the reflection, it's, well, yeah, the path to your laying off was inevitable because you became the person who laid you off is still becoming, and the cycle continues, right? Like that's really how it happens, doesn't it?
It's a really interesting dynamic. I'm actually looking at it now where, people are complaining about a lot of different things. I recently interviewed, not recently, a long time ago, I spoke to someone kind of one-to-one, and I remember asking him about hiring, layoffs, if it works, if it doesn't work. And we kind of went back and forth and we disagreed on some of the metrics regarding hiring, layoffs, and the effectiveness of what companies are doing. And he disagreed with me on my stance, but then he was laid off. And all the things he said were, the strategies that people should utilize when looking for work, he no longer wants to do them because he knows they don't work. So I see a lot of this dissonance where people are saying our process works when they're on the corporate level. And then all of a sudden they abandon everything they believe in as soon as they need the job, because they actually know we can't trust what corporate level people are implementing. So they try to go around, and that's when they contact me and say, hey, can you help me get into this? And I'm like, well, what happened to just trusting the process, the ATS, the application process? Why don't you trust that anymore? And they're like, well, I don't think these positions are really going to be posted. I'm like, well, no, that's what I've been telling you the whole time. It doesn't matter if they're posted or not. You don't want to fall into this, pool and tunnel of ineffective process. You want to go around it. And when you're the one who is leading the process, the easy and lazy thing to do is to say, no, go apply, follow the process. Everything's great. You kind of stop innovating. You start thinking outside the box because you're comfortable. But the moment you become uncomfortable, you realize that that process is not going to work. And I think we're going to have a reality check. All the things that I've been talking about, problem people that actually forced out of the C-suite and that realize the problem exists. And they're going to say, oh my God, I can't believe what we're doing. And they're only going to see it when they face the same dilemma that all the other candidates out there are complaining about. And that's how I think the problem I'm talking about is actually going to resolve itself, is that a lot of people are going to have to be forced to rethink the strategy from the outside. Because from the inside, there's no incentives to change anything, unless it's a founder, a CEO who really is switched on and really understands how bad it's got.
Interesting, because I had a guest on, John St. Pierre, last week, and one of his first comments was, as you grow your organization, go become the chairman quickly, go find some CEOs and executive leaders to lead the organization, identify them, and then get out of the way and let them lead. And then essentially, by being the chairman, don't allow the complacency to set in, right?
That's precisely it. The number one thing that you should be able to afford, like almost the goal of every company, and I don't see this happen a lot, at any level, is get successful enough to where your role as a CEO, you can afford to replace. The first person everybody should strive to replace in the organization when they get to a certain level is themselves, because they're emotionally attached to the business, the result, and they're never going to do the things that are required to drive the business forward. It's kind of like, I always kind of use this, it's a funny analogy, but I actually did it. Like, parents can't teach their kids how to drive. They get way too attached to the result. Plus they're scared on the highway, like they're overreacting and yelling at their kids. I actually, my job when I was in college was teaching 16-year-olds how to drive, 6 hours behind the wheel to get the permit.
Yes.
That was my job. And I remember parents, can you imagine I'm a 21-year-old guy coming to pick up a 16-year-old girl to spend 6 hours with her by myself. The parents were like, here you go. Thank you. When else would anybody ever willfully give the control of a 16-year-old girl to a 21-year-old guy? It's when they don't want to have to do what I did, which is go on the highway with them for the first time. So I always look at saying, you're emotionally attached and you're going to overreact. So you need someone that actually can be mindful. So in that case, I was the CEO running the future driving success of all these 16-year-olds.
Yes, when you put it that way, that's very true. So, and I will also say, through my own experience, it's very difficult when you're emotionally attached to that role to hand it over to somebody else or bring in somebody to think that they can do it better than you or so forth, right? Because to your point, it's that emotional attachment. You have no, you're like, nobody can do it as good as I can. And I think this sets up, Michael, a segment I ran this morning. And this is actually fantastic, because I think this is going to really drive some great conversation for you and I as well. Tony Robbins, 7 minutes. I'm going to put this clip on. It is 7 minutes that will change how you see yourself forever. I'm going to run it. Let's just put this on. Let's do this. Let's go here.
Business, not what you want from the business, but who are you in your core? And let me explain. All of us in this room have different gifts that we can give, regardless of our business. I have found there are what I would call 3 gifts of labor. And when I say labor, I believe other than my love and other than your love, the greatest gift we can give someone other than our love is our labor. And in my case, my labor is a source of love. I'm trying to love you into the place you get what you want, whether you know it or not. It might sound corny to you, but it's really what's true in my heart. And so it gives me great joy. But there are 3 gifts you can give through your labor. You can first give the gift of being a great artist or talent or a skilled producer. Now, if this is your primary gift, it means that what excites you is creating things. That's what artists do. When I say artist, I don't just mean like someone who paints. Your art might be negotiation. Your art might be writing software code better than anybody else. Your art might be designing fashion better than anybody else. These people live to produce some form of product or service or result, and they love to see its impact on people's lives. That is their primary drive and motivation. That's what rewards them. The artist wants to make money, we all do, but the artist will never sell out. They don't really want to sell the business. When I talk about selling a business, all the artists look at me with this confused look like, why did I do that? This is what I want to do the rest of my life. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that limits to what you're going to build in the business if that's the only filter you use. Now, the second gift that you could give someone is the gift of being a manager or leader. If you're a manager or leader, your labor, your skill, your ability is really to manage people and processes. And people that are manager leaders, they love to manage people. Artists usually get frustrated with too many people because they just want to create what they want. But a manager leader loves it. And they don't just love managing the people, they love managing the process, they want to make it better. They're about building a system, which, by the way, a business is a system for adding value. An organization is only a system, because if you leave and there's no system, there's no business. But if there's a system, it'll go on even when you're not there, whether it's McDonald's or GE. So you can replace the people and it still works. That's a system. Manager leaders are outstanding at that. The third person is what we call an entrepreneur, or a better term would be a massive risk taker. Because most of you in this room consider yourself to be an entrepreneur, but I would argue to you that maybe the language would be more accurate is you're entrepreneurial, meaning you enjoy creating things, including lots of different companies, but that's not an entrepreneur. What makes them an entrepreneur is they're in it for the economics and they're in it for the juice of the ups and downs. They actually love taking risks. Ted Turner has been near bankruptcy 6 times. Once he went bankrupt.
Can a man in your position lose all his money suddenly? Sure. Happens all the time.
But 5 other times he's near it, and he just got up and did it again. He's juiced about it.
It's about fun, W-I-N.
That's a true entrepreneur. And they're, unlike the artist or the manager leader, they're happy to sell the business. You know, they'll sell the business and they'll just buy another one, or they'll start another one, and they might like the product, but the product can change. It's not about the product for the entrepreneur. It's about creating this business that they can make money out of and sell. So it's a different mindset. So I have a friend who said to me, well, I'm a medical doctor and I have 3 centers and I'm the best entrepreneur I know. And I looked at him and go, dude, let me help you. What if you had to choose between helping people in 3 locations versus selling the business and making a 10x profit? He goes, I'd never do that. It would be wrong for my patients. I want to be there for all of them. He's just an overproductive artist. And by the way, he makes money, but nowhere near as much as he could, because he's not looking to maximize it. He says he does, but it's not his nature. His nature is do more cool things for people, which he enjoys, and he's entrepreneurial. He's more entrepreneurial than the people he knows, but the people he knows are not true entrepreneurs. So here's the truth. If money wasn't a question, what would I do? Would I want to trade things for people, see them light up? Would I want to run the organization, manage people and processes? Do I want to take the risk, be there, sell it, do something else again? What is your nature? Now, you might have all 3 skills, but they're not equal. We all have one that we're better at than the others. And the secret to fulfillment, you can do all 3 of these, but if you're going to be fulfilled, you got to spend the majority of time in your nature. And by the way, under stress, you'll go back to your nature. The artist goes back to working on the products. The manager leader tries to change the organization. The entrepreneur wants to sell it and do something else. That's the nature of the person under stress. And under excitement, you tend to go back here. And most people have stress and excitement in their business. So the question becomes not what do you want, but what's your nature so you're the most fulfilled? See, many of you came here wanting to be an entrepreneur, and you might be better as a skilled artist without all the risks than taking your money and investing in entrepreneurs that are already the best in the world that you'll never be because it's not your nature, and make 10 times your money, 20 times your money, 30 times your money off someone else who takes all the risk, who stays up all night, who never breathes, who finds the way to do it while you party and do what you love. And many of you have not considered that. So the real question is, what's your nature? If you can align with your nature, you'll eliminate so much stress. If you align with your nature, you're going to be 10 times more fulfilled. If you align with your nature, you're going to be 10 times more effective. But most of us have got our egos involved because of the conditioning of society. And we say, I want to be that entrepreneur. I want to be the guy that starts Google or Apple or whatever the case may be. And chances are that's not what you're going to do. You can still build a great business. But those things are usually not what most people experience. So which of these is you at your core? Because the question we're going to answer is this. Who are you in your true nature? Now, I have all 3 of these skills, but they're not equal. And I'm not fulfilled equally by all 3 of them. But here's what I've done. I've surrounded myself with people that have the other skills, and I've gotten really good at being an entrepreneur. but guess what I still love most? This shit. So what do? I've developed that skill. I know how to do it. And in those other businesses, I've surrounded myself with great manager leaders and great entrepreneurs. And I'm a great entrepreneur, but I'm not as great as them because I'll never maximize the profit at the highest level because I want to do more for the customer. It's my nature. So I divorced myself from some of those businesses in that area. I'm the strategist. I bring the value there, but I don't get in the way of decisions. Like, bottom line is I have different people as partners. I play a different role in those places based on the goals of what I want to accomplish in those areas. I'm the last person that would limit you and say you can only be this. I hope you know that about me. But I also want you to be fulfilled. Because in the end, the money's not going to do it. The situation's not going to do it. It's aligning with what fulfills you that'll make you fully alive. And if you do that really well, you can also make more money than you can imagine. But you got to know your true nature and you got to align with it. So the question we're going to answer is this: who are you at the core? What fulfills your moat? And you need.
What's your nature? Michael Kainatsky. I saw that video last night on the way home from the hockey game, and I was struck by it. I shared it this morning with Nicole and Kylie Hauk, and I was struck by it again. And I wanted to have the conversation with you, and because it really boils down to, and I know you speak with human beings every single day, helping them through their careers and so forth. The artist, the manager, or the entrepreneur. Thoughts on this segment, Michael Kainatsky?
Well, I mean, I know that you said you've been struck by it. Like Michael Jackson used to say, you've been struck by a smooth talker in Tony Robbins. That guy is so easy to listen to. The first song that I ever listened to, listened to was when I came to the United States in 1988, was Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. And I saw the video, and you could imagine a guy from communist Russia seeing that video. And I was just like, where the hell am I? And that song lyrics always struck with me. It's like, you've been struck by. And I'm like, that's when I first I fell in love with Michael Jackson. That's right. So I've been working my very best to become a smooth criminal my whole career. And so what do I think? First of all, the entrepreneurial thing, he's right on. I think there's a hell of a lot of people that think, honestly, here's the problem. People mistake entrepreneurship with, I'm a small business owner. Biggest misconception, I think, that exists today with, here's how I look. So here's how I see entrepreneurial versus small business owner. And I may look at it differently than other people. If you're an ice cream shop and you sell ice cream and you're really good at it, and now you have 2 ice cream shops, then you have 5 ice cream shops, and you go, I want to go into pizza. I still don't believe you're an entrepreneur. You know what I think you are? You are a really successful businessman. The definition of entrepreneur for me, and I mean, bar none, is what problem do you solve? Not what product do you sell. Problem, solve. So look, PS, problem, solve, product, sell. You cannot be entrepreneurial if you sell a product, but you can be entrepreneurial if you solve a problem. So a lot of people look at the P and the S and they go, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. No, you're not. It's problem solving rather than product selling. So like, for instance, Apple, they sell products. No, they don't. They solve problems with their product. Ice cream causes problems, but it tastes in. So that's, for me, that's my definition. I'm not saying that's the right one. I'm just saying I'm really tired of people calling themselves entrepreneurs on LinkedIn. To me, people call themselves entrepreneurs probably as much as they call themselves experts. And me, I'm a contrarian by nature, so I like to plug holes in air balloons.
It certainly is a word that's overused or used often. There's no question about that. I think anybody who has an idea in their head believes that they're an entrepreneur. I love how Tony did describe the fact that, those entrepreneurs are the ones chasing the juice, ones that are afraid to not afraid to throw all in and not afraid to throw all out, kind of thing. And I will tell you, I watched the 7 minutes. This is my 3rd time, I guess, watching it. And it really resonates for me, Michael, because I went into it, frankly, wrapping my head around my title of, because I'm not a manager. I know that. I love leading. There's no question. I really enjoy leading folks, but I'm not a manager. I'm not an entrepreneur. Because if I was an entrepreneur, I would have maxed out my old world. I would be out raising money for this thing right now that I'm doing. I'd be out trying to maximize every single dollar, trying to maximize my time. Instead, I'm like, no, I want to create the greatest. Like, am I solving a problem with the lab? Perhaps in some ways, but no, I'm really able to solve a problem of boredom and create something entertaining, but I'm a creator. And that's what I really recognize, that I'm a creator. I'm really great at surrounding myself with brilliant human beings and then empowering them, right? So I could relate to much of what Robin said in that segment, but it took me watching that to recognize that that's my nature. And it's funny because as I'm building this business, my nature is just to go back to create, not to go raise money, not to focus on the business plans, not to go and, yes, I'm selling because we got to go and drive revenue into the house at some point. That's what business people do. That's the entrepreneurial side, right? But that true purpose for me is, I love to create.
So you're a visionary. Visionaries should never be the business mind. Visionaries should be the person that drives this amazing thing that they want to create, because visionaries create, but they can't necessarily, some can, but they can't always execute. They need somebody to come in and execute the vision
100%,
that they are driving.
Yes.
I will tell you that if you're looking to get rid of boredom, probably need to reconsider your guest choice next time. That's probably causing more problems than it's solving, if that's what your goal is. That said, that said,
I did want to keep it funny.
Well, that's exactly it. But that's, that said, I would say that creating is actually great. And a lot of people, I think, want to label themselves as something they're not, because society, if you think about it, right, we honor entrepreneurs a lot less than we honor artists.
Yes.
Just think about that.
Yeah, I
Think
know.
about how many artists there are in the world, and there's so many critics on piling in on top of artists, right? This movie sucked, that food didn't taste good, whatever it might be. The moment somebody calls themselves an entrepreneur, you got people who are in the audience kissing their feet before they've ever reached any pinnacle of kind of success. So we don't, I'll tell you a story. My wife became a doctor because she's actually an artist, exceptional artist. I mean, she could draw the Sistine Chapel if you wanted it. And the truth is, she was told early on, you'll never make money with this. Don't even bother. It's a waste of your time. So she became a doctor. But every day she tells me, my passion is in what I left, because I was told there's no value in it in the long term. And I wonder how many people who have this passion like you to create something without monetizing, without needing to monetize it. Look, starving artists, there's a reason people say starving artists. It's not because these people are losers, which society claims, right? Kind of society puts this moniker of, the starving artist, he's a loser. No, the starving artists are the visionaries that operate at the seventh dimension that we can't see. And they want people to desperately understand. And that's why we appreciate artists so long after they're dead. Like people find, original artwork of Picasso, like in the dumpster somewhere in the back of a house that was like, the guy didn't like it, he threw it out. Hey, it's only worth 50 million. He's like, I missed the spot.
I wonder if that paradigm shift is changing, Michael, with, we are going through a paradigm shift with monetizing digital content. There's more opportunity than ever before to monetize as a creator. I wonder if we're going to celebrate and encourage those to be artists and be creators, and because we will remove so much friction, enabling people to get paid. It was difficult, in yesterday's world as an artist to maybe transact with microcultures, right? So if you were an artist who had 1,000 people or 3,000 people in your community, it was difficult for you to monetize those experiences. But now, you go into a community of 1 billion people on LinkedIn, you build your tribe of 1,000 people as a creator, 2,000 people, you start engaging with them for a few bucks here, a few bucks there, and maybe they become celebrated, Michael. Maybe we are on the verge of a paradigm shift when it comes to who we do celebrate. Thoughts?
I think we're in a paradigm shift already of who we celebrate, but I think it's in the negative, not the positive. By 2025, 90% of all creators, of all content, of all the stuff that we give people credit for will be generated by AI. So are we going to now stand at the precipice of honoring artists that actually aren't really creating, but just prompting? Is that, this guy is really good at prompting, which created this piece of art, or they created a music video through AI, or all their posts are 100% AI. It's not even them. Are we really in the place now where we're going to be like jumping on the bandwagon to like this stuff? Or is there going to be really true ingenuity? Like, I think we're in the precipice of the people standing out. Like, look, frankly, I don't have the best content out there. It's clear because I don't have 1 million likes on everything I do. But I will tell you, I don't follow what everybody advises me. I'm told often, write your content a month out. schedule it twice a day for the month out, then well, you don't have to worry about it. And I always have an issue with that. I wake up every morning and I write whatever comes to my mind, good, bad, different, but I write it in the moment because it has to be raw. That's how I feel about artistry. You can't fake creation because eventually everybody is going to do this thing and everyone will be the same. If you look at LinkedIn feed, it's a lot of sameness. There's not a lot of uniqueness. And eventually people are going to be like, I'm over it. This is the same. It's almost like, like the future where every car looks the same because everybody wants it to be aerodynamic and circular and rails sit inside and they just move around on rails. We're going to start going backwards to where people want originality and they want to see, the authenticity, which is overused, by the way. Because everybody says I'm authentic, just like everybody says I'm a servant leader. Well, it's just a term. I don't think everybody's a servant leader. I see servant leaders laying people off every day. That's not servant leader. That's serving shareholders, not the people in your charge. So this is the issue. I think we're going in the other direction. I don't think we're going into the place where we're going to honor artists. I think we're going to have false gods in our mind that we're going to oh my God, this guy is so great.
Yeah, it's interesting, Michael, because I appreciate the contrarian point of view. I wonder though. We moved from music being made analog, right? Well, first of all, we made from music being made with probably sticks and stones and beats and drums, and then we went to analog music, and then we've gone to electronic music.
You're talking about communist Russia. You're talking about communist Russia, 88.
That's it. Yes,
sticks and stones, man.
We're going to get back to communist Russia and 88 there in a few moments, my friend. And I know how you learned how to speak English through Michael Jackson, but I wonder if we're just going to be celebrating a new kind of artist. Michael, I had this conversation with a gentleman who's building the biggest studio in Central America. He did well on Bitcoin. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go retire down in Central America. He's building the Beatles' old studio in Europe down in Central America. And he is betting on, maybe some of the next artists that will come and work out of his studio are some of the next artists that are embracing AI tools and computer tools and these new sounds. And maybe we don't even know, the Sphere in Vegas, right, Michael? Maybe we don't even know who's going to be the biggest headline of that facility yet because they haven't even come on our radar yet because we don't. Do you follow me? We went from Charlie Chaplin and black and white films to celebrating, artists on color films. Now maybe we don't even know the kind of people we're going to celebrate in the AI realm.
So that's probably a very valid point. But the fact that we don't know is actually exciting. It's what we know today and what we're seeing that gives me pause to really consider it, because what I'm seeing isn't artists utilizing AI to get their idea and expand upon it and use AI to kind of create this incredible stuff. I'm seeing a lot of the other stuff, which is people kind of going, I don't have an idea. Hey, AI, can you give me something? Mm-hmm. And so at that point, if I were to say, I know nothing about radio shows, I don't know anything about producing one. If I go to AI and say, if you were to produce a radio show, tell me how you would do it. And it'll give me a bunch of great ideas. And then I say, okay, make this into a PowerPoint deck. And then it'll do that. And then I'll go and say, I'm going to go and pitch producing a radio show to SiriusXM. And I got this beautiful pitch deck that was just created for me. And then imagine that world where it's not us taking an idea and creating something from it, but us sitting there going, look, I see this posted every day. Hey, do you have writer's block? No problem. Let AI give you some great ideas to post about. If you have writer's block, it's natural.
Yes. I think you can see the true creators and the true humans shining through in the sea of AI generated content. I think you can see those that really jump in and try to be as human as possible. I'm going to use the word authentic, and I'm going to try to lean on the word human. Try to be as human and as relatable as possible, right? And taking that extra step and perhaps using AI in the workflow, but not using AI to drive the workflow.
Correct. I 100% agree with you. I think the workflow actually is a wonderful use of it, because there's too many people that I think the attention span is so screwed up right now that it's great to have AI help you do workflows. It's helpful to, automate some things for you.
Yes.
But not create for you. I think the create for you dynamic, where, I mean, look, there's a lot of stuff happening that's amazing, right? But when people are talking about take Perplexity AI and ChatGPT and DALL-E and link them together through prompts that'll create all these crazy things, and then you have all this amazing stuff that's coming out, it's amazing. I literally love that it's amazing. But here's the thing, I cannot give credit to the people utilizing it. I give credit to the people that are geniuses that created these AI tools to do what it's happening. So when I see this people doing this stuff, no, they're not entrepreneurs. Those are the artists. The AI creators are the artists. The entrepreneurs are just the people that
created the platform. Yes. Yeah.
Those guys are the creators, right? The entrepreneurs are people that go, oh my God, we got to take this to market. This is incredible. Let's get it to every single person out there. But they couldn't tell you how to code it. They couldn't tell you what it does. They can't even tell you how it works, and they don't care. You know, there's people that sell Rolex watches that only know how to tell you what time it is, but they don't know how the watch is made, and they don't need to. To sell a Rolex, think about it. You go to a Rolex store, the entrepreneurs are the ones that don't need to tell you how the watch is made. They go to Rolex. You go to like the back shop where the guy's like tinkering and go, what makes this watch so great? He's going to tell you the mechanisms, why it doesn't lose more than 3 seconds a year. Those are creators. That guy couldn't sell a watch for his life, but he could tell you how great it is. Those are the artists. Those are creators. The entrepreneurs go, this is a beautiful watch. I'm going to sell this. People are going to want this. It's 12 o'clock.
It's true. Michael, the term personal brand and the idea of personal branding, the concepts of personal branding, all of that we're seeing across LinkedIn, we're seeing it in the digital world. As somebody who deals with humans, talks with humans, helps humans into the next stages of their career and so forth, has yesterday's resume, Michael, literally just become today's Chat GPT? And because there's such a way to craft your personal brand now, it is more important than ever. And before I finish my question, I know I have gotten to the point where people cold calling me now on LinkedIn or on any of the platforms, like just not like pitch slap me as you joke with me. I literally respond to them with 3 words: who are you? Because I believe that we live in a world now where if you truly want to sell to me, Michael, you will take some time to get to know me, because I'm putting my stuff out there on my platform. You'll get to know me. You'll get to see the problems that I may be having. You might engage with me. We might have a little bit of dialogue, like the real world, before you then said, hey, I'm going to pitch slap you. Is that real, Michael, or is that perception?
I think what you're saying is 100% real. And I think the people that realize it, like me, I actually tell people all the time, because I talk to a lot of people that say, look, LinkedIn it's a business platform. It's a numbers game. Pitch slap people. Who cares? There's 1 billion people. You could reach out to 100 a day. If two are interested, who cares? Those are the people that are just driven by money. They're not driven by impacts and relationships. I'm a sales guy for 20 years, and I can tell you I hate what sales has become, because I don't believe that, for the most part, unless you're selling something that's very, very clear cut, like here's a program that helps you do X, simple. Here's a widget that helps you do Y, simple. That's truly what is the issue. I believe you're right. And by the way, I posted about this a couple of weeks ago, right? When people reach out to build a relationship with you, here's what I believe. I believe you should say, I want to know who you are, like you say, not, I'd love to learn about what you do. Because what we do, like if I reached out to you 5 years ago and said, hey, Keith, what do you do? Would it be, I'm running this nice new platform on LinkedIn that's a TV show that I want to be the most popular show on LinkedIn and anywhere else? Would you have said that?
Probably not. No.
Well, probably not. Were you doing it 5 years ago?
No, I wasn't.
So then the answer would be definitely not. You would not have said it.
Yeah.
You would say, I'm running this company.
Yes,
right?
You're right.
So what you do is, like yesterday, a guy reached out to me and said, hey, I was laid off. I'm like, oh, so what do you do now? Well, what I did yesterday was X. What I do now is Y. So you will always be able to say to somebody, okay, well, what do you do? And they'll say, well, what I do is blah, blah, blah. It's their job. That could change every day. You can get a different offer tomorrow and you leave. You can win in the lottery and go, what do you do now? Jack shit. But who you are is pretty much, and again, my wife seems to believe otherwise because she asks me to change all the time, but I don't think humans really change and can. So basically, with a 95 to 98% certainty, I could reach out to anyone for a period of 10 years and ask them, who are you? And I would get an answer that was 98% similar. But that won't be true for what do you do. So I don't ask people, what do you do? I say, who are you? What makes you you? I want to get to know who you are, because that won't change. And if you get to know who they are, it's very easy to talk about what they do. But if all you care about is what do they do, they'll say, what you do, Michael, is not a fit for us. But who I am is a fit for everybody, because I care about who you are.
It very much leads back, Michael, to the conversation, or sorry, the clip I ran with Tony Robbins, because it's like, what's your nature? So it's the same thing you're asking me. It's like, so Keith, who are you? Like, what are you, man? Right? Are you a manager, leader? Are you a get shit and done kind of guy? Or are you a CEO? Not what did you do yesterday? Right. And that goes back to the personal brand. Like, who are you? Show me what you are. What have you accomplished? Right. Because ChatGPT can create any resume for anybody in 80 seconds. Now I really want to know about you as a human being. I want to get to know you as a human. I want to get to know what makes you tick. And I'm thinking somebody in your shoes who's going to take somebody in my shoes and place me in a role. You really want to get to know who I am as a human. The last thing you want to see is a bunch of words on a piece of paper.
So you just said it exactly. So I've been criticized by a lot of people, and I'm not even gonna say it's my profession. I don't consider myself a recruiter. I actually despise the recruiting profession for the most part, because I think a lot of it is just no barriers to entry, a lot of sameness. People are just pushing everything they can into a funnel and hoping something sticks.
Yes.
I talk to very few people in my recruiting endeavors. And that's because I talk to every single person for 45 to an hour. And I've been criticized saying, that's ridiculous. How are you going to be productive? So I always tell them, if somebody's going to trust me to tell them, I believe this is an opportunity worthy of your time, how am I going to tell them I care about their future? I'm going to literally break your family up, potentially ruin your livelihood. You're going to quit your job because I'm telling you to, and I'm going to get you to do it in 10 to 15 minutes. That's just never going to work. So if you want the best candidates to believe in you, and honestly, I stand by this, because if you look at my LinkedIn testimonials, you're going to see candidates and you're going to see leaders that have given me their, love and respect and have said something nice. You have to get to know someone to be like, hey, this is the right opportunity for you. Because now that I've talked to you, I understand that you definitely are a good person. This is the right role for you. But more times than not, I could also tell them, this is not for you, because I now realize who you are, what you do, and what you want to do. And this is not the right move for you. And I don't think you can do that and truly build a relationship with people by just talking to them for 10 minutes, reading. So like you said, resumes are nothing. They're not an audited document. There's no IRS for documents like resumes. You can't reach out to a company from 10 years ago and go, hey, is this guy really telling me the truth? Those people will be like, I don't know, the person he reported to quit 3 years ago. I have no clue. So there's no way to audit that document. But when you talk to someone for an hour and you really, really talk, they cannot hide who they are. You find out exactly who they are, and you have all the information you need. So I don't believe in resumes, just like I don't believe in job descriptions, because job descriptions are useless. They're written by people that have never done the job. They're probably ChatGPTing how to write a job description and going, here's a job description. And then the whole process is so screwed up that I don't hire for job descriptions. People give me a job description, go, here, can you find me this person? And they go, I don't care about that. What do you want them to do? I'd love them to sell $1 million. Okay, so that's the outcome. Great. I'll show you the guy who can do that. Because I could care less what your job description says, because
of course,
it means nothing to me.
Yeah, it's what a way to reframe it, Michael. Like, that's a really wonderful way to reframe it, because is that as much a generational thing? My assumption that it is. So my assumption is it's a lot of the Gen X boomers that still looking for chasing the resumes. But we're looking at Gen Z, we're looking at maybe young Gen X, Gen Z, and so forth, chasing the digital brand, the personal brand, I want to know the 360 POV, the POV of Michael Kainatsky, not just the words on the paper. Is that as much a generational thing? So I guess really the ultimate question for you, Michael, is it 5 years from now? How is, not going to use the word recruiting, how is placing humans in other spots changing, or are we seeing it changing in front of our eyes just by what people are doing?
Well, first of all, my concern is people aren't going to be smart enough to realize that AI is a tool rather than a replacement. That, I think, is going to happen. People are going to say, hey, we can just replace these 6 people with AI. We can have one guy and 6 AI robots. I see that's going to be a real problem, because companies are going to think that they can do that, and they're going to be profit driven. Because a lot of entrepreneurs are going to be building their businesses, and artists are going to die out, because artists care about impact. Entrepreneurs care about profit, right? And let's be honest, like Tony Robbins said, if you're a doctor that's helping people and you want to 10x your business because you could sell it, will you do it? And the doctor says, well, no, I care about the people. People criticize that, but
yes,
most, I see doctors all the time that transition what they do. Like my cousin went to school. He wanted to be a doctor. I was his dream, perfect resume, Princeton full ride, med school, everything perfect. Right before he graduated, he started seeing the healthcare system. He's like, screw that. Added 3 years, went plastic surgeon route. Now he's got 5 or 6 offices in multiple states, making 20, 30 million bucks a year. He's got doctors working for him. All he's trying to do is build more. He's an entrepreneur. He doesn't care now about being a doctor. He has people he hired that care about being doctors. He wants to be solving problems through his practice, and he's fighting insurance companies at the same time because he has this ambition that insurance is broken and he wants to right size it. So you cannot criticize either side. That's the problem. We want to be on one. We want to polarize and say, well, it's a zero sum game. How can you possibly be a doctor that wants to make money? Well, you're like, well, why would I want to be a doctor if I think of communist Russia? My aunt was a doctor. I think to myself, I'd be a janitor in communist Russia because you get the same amount of money. Why would I kill myself to go through? And they go, you're going to make 35 rubles a month because you don't need anything. Okay, but I just went through med school and all the other stuff that I needed to do to become a doctor. And the janitor makes the same amount of money. Well, you don't need money. We got you taken care of. But don't you want to add to the humanity? Well, back then they did, because that's why you had doctors and dentists. Today, if communism came to the United States, I'm telling you, we would have no doctors and a lot of people that are just doing janitorial work or on the street painting because they love it, playing piano, because there's no incentive. Capitalism works because it drives ingenuity and it drives people to be the best they can be. Communism doesn't drive. I mean, listen, you want to talk about capitalism? Very simple. Go Google 1980 to 1991 Russian production cars. Go take a look at what they look like and then tell me that we don't need capitalism.
Michael, you moved to North America without speaking a word of English. You told me back in '88, I guess it was. Why did family move here? How was the move? Why the move? And talk about that experience.
So, I posted about this a couple of times recently. Like last week, I posted about going back to Russia and what I found out. And so when I was in Russia, my life was actually really good. My father was very powerful in a country where power didn't exist unless you were a politician. He had, I guess you could probably almost call it like almost mafioso type because there was money that shouldn't have been there. I had a personal driver that I never realized was a personal driver. He just was like, oh, it's Uncle Shura. But no, that guy was just a personal driver. He drove me everywhere. He drove my mom and I everywhere. And I'm like, oh, I'm just a guy in a van. He's like, I know him. But I had a driver. We had 2 houses where people barely had one. And so he left all that because a lot of people don't know this, but back in Russia in those times, there was a lot of still religious persecution for Jews. And he knew there was going to be a better life for us where I didn't have to go to the army. Again, we didn't know communism was going to fall, but at the time it's everybody goes to the army, which is still true, by the way. He didn't want that for us. He went through it. He just didn't want it. So he basically was like, he knew he was going to have to give up everything to leave. So that's what he did. He basically gave up everything because you can't take anything with you, gave away all your personal belongings. You can't even sell it because they don't allow you to sell it. They go, you don't own it. You can't sell it. So you have to do everything secretive. And so that's why we left. It took us 9 years. I wouldn't even been born if they let us out when they first applied to leave. 79, they applied to leave. You go through process, interviews. It takes forever. Finally, 1988 is when they let us out. So I wouldn't have been born, most likely, had they let my family out right away. And so when we came here, we had our luggage. We had basically luggage and the clothes on our back. The luggage never made it out of the airport because it was stolen, because I think people knew who he was and kind of that he was leaving. And I think we were kind of tailed, and they were like, yeah, paid someone off. I need the luggage for this person. The names are on there when you're flying out. And they just took them off because they knew that we were probably going to have some really expensive stuff in there. So and they knew he probably was one of the wealthier people. So our stuff never made it out of the airport. So pictures, videos, actually, I wouldn't call it video. I don't think we had video back there. I can't imagine we had the technology, but pictures, albums, our entire existence, basically. Like if I, at that point, if we basically didn't make it out of Russia and we died at that moment and all that stuff was stolen, there's a high likelihood that you would have a very difficult time tracing the existence of my family on this planet.
No kidding.
That's how much was taken.
So, Michael,
so the only stuff that's left is families, that have some things here and there, but for the most part, all of it's gone.
Do mom and dad still have family in Russia today?
So mom passed away 11 years ago. She does not have family. Everybody came over. So my mom is Ukrainian, 100%. Back then, Ukrainian didn't mean anything. It was USSR. So everybody was Soviet. We do not have anybody left there. There's some friends and family, relatives that went back, believe it or
Okay.
not. Some that are kind of 6 months here, 6 months there. But for the most part, everyone came here. So everyone that I knew is definitely here. They all left.
Interesting. When you guys came, Michael, was it this is fascinating to me. Was this like immigrate? Did you immigrate from Russia? Is that how it works? Like, is that basically what it was? You immigrated from Russia, and you're leaving communist Russia. That whole process of saying we want to leave this country because we don't want to live here anymore. You're essentially disowning your parents. Kind of use the metaphor. They must look at you like, okay, then get the hell out of here. There's the door. See ya. No?
So they don't look at it that way. They go, no, we don't want you to leave. We're not going to let you leave. That's why it takes 9 years of
You can't just leave.
pushing. So I'll tell you, it's much harder for us to have left Russia than it is for people to sneak into this country. So legally, it was harder for us to leave than it is illegally to come into this country. Think about that.
I know how easy it is illegally to get into the United States. It's quite easily, frankly.
Correct. But it was very difficult for us to leave legally.
Yeah, so you're right. You could have become a refugee and just got on an airplane and flew to America. You could have.
That's how we got out. We claimed refugee status, and
Okay.
that is how we got out. Exactly. My aunt had left in '79. I have no idea how she got out, and how she even was allowed to do it. She came. She started filing for a guest visa for us, and basically for 9 years kept sending it. And it took us 9 years to finally get this refugee asylum status where we left based on.
Which means then, if I'm understanding this correctly, which means that it allows you to leave your country under a shroud of secrecy, land in the United States or the country you select. And once you get there, they will protect you with asylum. Essentially, we will protect you from not having you being deported back to your originating country. Did I describe that correctly?
Yeah. Pretty accurately, yeah. A lot of people, if they didn't have family that could request for them to come, they have to go through Israel or through Italy. And they basically say, hey, we want to go to Italy for a trip. They'll go to Italy, and then Italy goes, hey, you're refugees. We're not sending you back. You can stay here for a couple of months, and then they start processing you for the next destination.
Oh, really? I've often wondered, back when the Olympics, communist Russia, you'd wake up, and then all of a sudden on Monday you'd hear the news where, athlete has defected from Russia, from Mother Russia. That's really what it was, right? Which is okay. I'm now doing the Olympics in Vancouver or wherever it would have been, and we're just I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell anybody, but now I'm just waking up and I'm staying here. That's basically what it is, right?
It's exactly what it is. And in countries, so the reason why this is actually interesting is it's not like it's hard to leave Russia. During the Cold War, it was hard to leave Russia for the US.
That's what I mean. Yes, of course.
Yeah. Italy, they were like, well, we want to go to Italy. They're like, okay, go to Italy.
See ya.
But the United States, not the same. So I think that's where the problem came, because we're like, we want to go to the US. That's where we want to go. We probably should have just said, you know what, we want to go to Israel. Okay, great. See you later. We want to go to Italy. See you later. We want to go to Hungary, Budapest, Germany, wherever. No problem. Go. And then you just go, we're refugees. We're not coming back. The problem is it's very difficult because here's what they did. They monitored everything you did. So like, for instance, if you're like packing up and you have a lot of stuff, and all of a sudden they notice like all your personal belongings are just being relinquished, or you're giving them away, or you're trying to, they'd be like, what's going on? Because they know they will never let the thing is, they never let the whole family go. So let's say if we want to go somewhere, they'd be like, you guys can go. Michael, you got to stay behind. Or you guys can go. My brother one of you has to stay behind because we need you to know that you got to come back.
Really?
They would never let the whole family travel. Yeah, they would never. So like literally no family members ever traveled anywhere out of the country together because they needed you to have skin in the game to return.
Yeah, of course. Of course. That's fascinating, Michael Kainatsky. We are coming up on our hour, my friend. I want to have you back here in the morning or back for a second round here. I want to hear about the experience of landing in America. I know when you told me, just in our private chat and getting to know each other, you knew no English. You came here, landed here, and well, apparently you threw Michael Jackson in your ears to learn how to dance and learn how to speak English. I can't. English is not an easy language to learn. That must have been an interesting experience for you.
It was actually something that I wish I could remember, because at 6 or 7, the transition is so automatic that you don't actually have an opportunity to remember learning it. But what I do know is my first grade teacher, God bless her, she started actually trying to learn Russian so she could talk to me. And so what ended up happening was I remember her trying to converse with me, but It was kind of interesting because I left before I went to school in Russia. So I couldn't read because I never learned it because I literally never went to school. So it's like basically coming out of kindergarten, preschool, where you haven't really learned it yet. So I came here, I don't speak English. So technically for about 6 months, I was completely illiterate, couldn't communicate. So it was actually an interesting time because I came halfway through first grade. And then when it came time to go to second grade, I was actually told, hey, maybe you should stay back. Perhaps you should not go to second grade. So there was a lot of people that wanted to leave me back because while I could speak, I still wasn't that great. And so I remember somebody coming through and saying, no. You know, my mom, they wanted me to be left back. And somebody came through and said, no, we're going to work with him. I think he's smart. You know, clearly they got that one wrong, but they took a chance on me and said, we're going to work with him. So I went to ESL. I started doing all of that stuff. And again, this is second grade. By the time I was in sixth grade, I was in Spanish. I was in advanced English. I was probably the top Spanish student. Every year I was in Spanish class because at that point, after learning Russian as a kid, learning English, Spanish became super easy. And I remember just as I progressed through school and then high school, I was in advanced English. I was, put in all the advanced courses. The Spanish teacher was like, oh, you need to be, like on the Spanish club. And I was like, at that point, I just remember thinking I was almost left back. And now my English is at a level where some people would tell me, hey, man, your English is so much better than ours. Why is that? And I'd say, well, it's because you never had to learn it the way I literally had to learn English. Think of like you picked it up as a kid and you just naturally progress. So your language understanding is just whatever you do as a kid. Mine was I had to come and focus on literally learning it like something new. So I learned it to the most literal version of it. So I can, I can kind of apply different theories in English, like just play on words very easily and quickly because I had to learn English in such a precise way that is not natural for me. It became natural, but it isn't natural. So now I can kind of use the English language almost like a tool that maybe some people quite can't. And I will tell you, it helps me in my writing because I have creativity through just things that I see, like just interesting play on words that I just think naturally wouldn't have come to me had I not had both Spanish, Russian English and Spanish that I learned and Russian that I natively knew. So it's helped me. It's definitely helped.
Well, I noticed that in your writing, like you're a great communicator, and I have to suspect it's because you were forced to learn English. You had to learn English in a way that maybe we all take for granted, frankly. If you grew up with English here in North America, you take it for granted. Whereas in your situation, I'm going to suspect you needed to learn how to use English as a skill, as a tool, as a way to get ahead of somebody who was taking it for granted. So now when I see you write and communicate, you're good with words, and I can see the reason. And now I understand the reason why.
Thank you. That is the reason why. Yeah. To me, it's not a natural ability. Like for you, English is a natural ability because you've never known anything that you learn naturally. For you, it's like walking. But if I never learned how to walk and I had to learn how to walk, it would be a skill. So for me, the English language, my Russian is my first language. That's the language I just speak. English to me is no different than somebody going and saying, I want to learn algebra. For me, English and algebra are identical. Nobody was born going, algebra is just there. You learn it and you pick it up quickly. It's still a skill. English for me is a skill first, language second. There's nothing natural about it. But I had a predisposition to picking it up faster because it was a second language. But by no means was it easy. And by no means do I take it for granted because, I have to still speak Russian so I don't forget that. I had to teach myself how to read Russian because I never went to school in Russia and there's really no Russian school here and I didn't want to do it. So I taught myself how to read in Russian. So you have to use language as a skill if it's not something that you're naturally predisposed to. And I think a lot of that's the thing that bothers me most is I see Americans that need ChatGPT to write for them. And I'm like, I'm an ESL kid that almost got left back and I'm writing for myself. I'm not going to let ChatGPT write because it took me way too long to learn this language to now outsource it to somebody else.
That's a whole other discussion we're going to have to come back in the lab for, which is, should we be using AI generated tools to help us create content and comments? And here's the controversial question I'd throw out there for somebody like yourself. I want to use these tools to help me be more confident with my language. English is my second language. Using GPT allows me to be confident to speak English. I suspect your contrarian view was no, put the tool aside, learn how to use it. And if you need the tool to plug it in, go ahead. But you're of the POV, no,
learn how to use it before you jump in and use the tool.
The tool is great on this platform. You know what the problem is? Go on stage and ad hoc a conversation about what you do in front of 10,000 people without ChatGPT.
Yes.
What is going to happen? If you can't talk and be confident and own your word, ChatGPT is, I mean, yeah, you could write the speech with ChatGPT and read it, but what if you can't? What if you don't have that? And you just got to go and talk about something. That's where I think is where everybody should do that and practice it. That's how you get your language to be.
I love that we're speaking about this, Michael, as we wrap up here, going overtime, because that's what I'm building here in the lab. I'm betting that we're going to be inundated with content throwing at us. Chat GPT throwing content, video content, and I'm very specifically using the word at. I want to create a business around conversation where you guys can go create as much content as you want and fill up the feeds and communicate at me. I want to create humans and put them in a room and create conversation amongst humans and dialogue and monetize that. That to me is engagement. That to me is what's going to cut through all the content being generated throwing at us. That's what I'm betting on. You follow me?
I think you're 1,000% right. And Sean Nason, who you probably have talked to,
yes,
one of the things he changed for me, that massive impact of how my thinking was. He said, look, do you want an audience or do you want a following? If you want a following, talk with them. If you want an audience, talk at them.
Yes.
And I don't think audience is something you want, because there's nothing. It's emptiness. And all you're living for is optics and the metrics of it. Oh, look, I got 50 likes or 100 likes or 1,000 likes.
Boom.
But did you build relationships?
Yes.
And so conversation is the thing that you have to bank on. Community, relationships, and dialogue, not monologue, optics, and empty metrics that just do nothing for humanity. Unless you want to sit at home by yourself and be plugged into a machine and not even interact with anyone, then AI is perfect for that. But that's not the world I want to live in. I want to be able to have a conversation with somebody without having to, go to the teleprompter.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with you, my friend. And I think we're going to leave it there, because that's a wonderful way to wrap up a car. So listen, we came into the lab and you're like, hey, I want to have fun. I want to go all over the place. I don't want to spend all this time talking about myself and my business. We didn't. We talked about, we took 7 minutes to help people understand what their nurture is. What's your nature? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a manager? Are you a leader? Are you a creator, an artist? We talked with that, Michael. We talked about the changes of personal branding and Chat GPT, and get away from putting words on paper and getting in front of guys like me and you and other humans and getting to know that human and engaging with the human and stop talking at the human. We talked about that. We talked about, coming to America and weaving English and learning English and the power of the English language. And we talked, of course, about defecting in that process of your family's journey. Ken Kainatsky, thanks, man. I thought this was awesome. It's an hour went by, 60 some odd minutes went by. You made it.
I think we could book 2 hours the next time.
100%. I would agree with you there. 100%. But I get to go off to another meeting. Yes, transaction versus personalization. That's exactly it. I'm not sure who posted that up there, but this is true, right? Chat GPT jobs are transaction. Michael's saying, no, personalization. And one last thing to pump your tires, if I may. I like the way you've spun what your role is, right? You're like, no, I'm about getting to know human beings, because if I get to know enough human beings and spend the time investing in them, somebody along the way is going to say, I need this problem solved. And you're going to go, oh, I've spent some time getting to know this human. That's the right human to solve that problem. I use the analogy, Michael, just take the extra minute to cut the extra potato, because you're going to get so much value on that plate of fries for somebody, right? Take the extra time to get to know somebody, right? So anyways, we're going to get out of here. I'm just going to walk out the door with Michael Kainatsky today, my friend. I am going to typically, here's what we do, Michael. You know how the show goes. Typically, I throw my guests into the green room and then I say goodbye to Nation by myself. But no, today we're going to change it up. To my Robin, to my Batman, my Robin, however all that shit works. We're going to walk out of the gym together, out of the lab together. I'm going to, listen to it. What do you got planned for the rest of the day?
Why don't we cut it out with us doing 50 push-ups on camera?
Yeah, really. I'm tired today, man.
Why not?
Today's rest and recovery day. What do you got planned for the rest of the day?
The rest of the day, I don't know. I guess I got to go solve a problem in the world. I don't know.
I have a meeting with my friend
I got to
Anthony.
Figure out a problem to solve.
That's it. Anthony Franco and I are meeting soon. Yes, Anthony's. You saw his show a couple days ago there, the Shark Tank guy who's going through some interesting stuff.
I love his pizza. I love his pizza.
I will tell Anthony that. He's a solid guy. We're going to go have a meeting here, and maybe we're going to go try to solve the world's problems. And if we need good humans to solve the world's problems, I know where to find a human that knows good humans to solve the world's problems. Michael Kainatsky. You'll find him on LinkedIn at Michael Kainatsky, and you'll find him on Instagram at the Theoli G.
Actually, it's Theo Ali G, and that is Theo, my son, Ali, my dog, and I just did it instead of like theology, theology, because I believe in them. That
Beautiful.
Was my play on words.
Oh, and Michael Kainatsky, I believe in you. Nation, you have a wonderful day today. We're not talking to our audience. We're talking to Business Athlete Nation. Mr. Kainatsky, have a wonderful afternoon. Nation, have a wonderful afternoon. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. You betcha, pal.